Welcome. Thank you for joining us here on XY Spark. This is your boy Rolando. We do apologize this evening. We're a little bit behind schedule, but for those of us who have joined us, we just want to say thank you for continuing to be a part of the XY Spark family. This evening, believe it or not, I am so excited. I have a wonderful human being, a great friend of mine. He and I connected and, we had some good conversations. And he said to me, Rolando, whatever it is that you're doing on XY Spark, I want to be a part of it. And so, believe it or not, this evening we have none other than Lester Greene, who has come to be a part of our conversation. Lester, welcome, buddy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Man, man, listen, man, buddy, I'm excited. I know you definitely have a story. And guys, let me tell you, man, from the very moment Lester and I connected, man, believe me, we talk so often and connect so often. It's like we've known each other for years. And Lester has a story. So, Lester, just before we go into the story, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Lester Greene?
So, Lester Greene is an artist first, an actor at heart, a filmmaker, a producer, a former bus driver. I think we can start right there because a lot of times people say, you don't look like a bus driver. Well, what does a bus driver look like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I was a bus driver in New York City for 10 years and I was just miserable because I wasn't doing what my purpose is, and that's acting and being in front of the camera and helping people with their filmmaking goals. So I moved here to Atlanta and now I'm pursuing my acting career full time and I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying my purpose.
You said something critical, Lester, that I want to talk about. We have been in this pandemic now for the past 15 months. And, just earlier today, here in North America, in places, provinces like Alberta, the statistics shown that mental health in males and females have increased, substance use have increased. And so people are really struggling. And you're saying that, I really needed to find my purpose. And we're talking this even about self-acceptance and healthy masculinity. So tell us some more about that. What exactly do you mean when you say you went out to find your purpose?
Well, I always feel like your purpose is what you do effortlessly. In other words, acting is what I do is like second nature. It's a perfect fit for me. So driving buses was productive and I felt like I was doing something great in the community because I'm helping people get to their destination safely. So I took pride in what I did, but I knew deep down inside that wasn't my calling. And so
Mm,
I was there for 10 years, but out of those 10 years, I was miserable for 9 of them. Because
mm,
normally when you get your job and you start working there for the first time, you like it. But as you work there longer and longer, you realize, okay, no, this is not for me. I don't belong here. And that's how I felt. I felt like I was trapped in a cage and I couldn't
mm,
be creative. I couldn't be my true self. And
mm,
so now moving forward, if something doesn't speak to me spiritually or if it doesn't speak to me creatively, I don't even do it because life is so short. You see, with this whole pandemic, people are dropping like flies. People are dying left and right because life is so short. So
mhm.
now I try to make it my duty, I make it my obligation to do things that speak to my soul.
Wow, wow. Lester, you've been an actor. You say you stepped away from driving the bus for 10 years. And Lester, for a lot of men, they get into a job and they're like, this is it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm retiring here. And after
Mm-hmm.
10 years, you stepped away from that. What was the motivation? How did you do that? Because most guys are not brave. Most guys, that's a big risk.
It
So
is. It
how
is
did
a
that
big
come
risk.
about? Tell us how that came about.
Well, while I was doing that job, while I was driving the bus for those 10 years, I was still acting part time on the side. So that was sort of feeding my soul. But it wasn't enough though, but it was able to keep me going for those 9 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah?
But I knew that I needed more nourishment. I needed more because it's almost like when you're hungry and you only have a candy bar after you eat that candy bar, you're still hungry. You still want more. You're still starving for more. And so that's what I found myself doing. I said to myself, I can't keep living like this because I know that my soul is empty. And so
Mm.
that's when, after those 10 years, you become vested in the company. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I'd have a little retirement money from that job once I left. So that's when I said, okay, I'm going to make my break and I'm going to go to Atlanta because Atlanta is supposed to be the new Hollywood. So I came to Atlanta and I don't make as much as I was making in New York, but now I'm in a better place mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's hard to explain. I don't make nearly as much as I was making in New York, but I'm happy and I can
Mm.
feel the difference. People, when they see me, they're like, Lester, you look different. There's a certain light that they see.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It just affects
Mm.
my whole being. And now I walk around with a purpose. Now I know what I'm
Mm.
doing. I know what I was meant to do.
Mm. So are you saying then, Lester, and correct me because a lot of men now they believe that if they're not making a certain amount of money, they're failing, they're not fulfilling their purpose. And here you are today saying, well, hey, I'm not making nearly as much money as I did, but I'm
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
So how there seem to be a conflict there because isn't happiness a part of the finances? No, and a lot
Yeah.
of guys, and we're
Yeah.
talking to men now, we're talking about healthy masculinity and self acceptance.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and you're saying I'm making a lot less money, but I'm happy.
I
So,
am.
how do we explain that? Tell
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. So here's the thing with me. When I first came out here to Atlanta, they were offering me $12, $13 an hour. I was making $34 an hour in New York to drive the bus. I come to Atlanta, they want to pay me $16 an hour to drive the bus. That's a huge pay cut. And I said to myself, how am I going to work for $16 an hour when I was making $34 an hour doing the same thing? But I said to myself, Lester, I'm in the right place. Atlanta's the new Hollywood. I'm pursuing my acting career. I'm going to go with the flow because everything's not going to be perfect. You know that no scenario is going to be perfect. So I realized this is a test for me. That's what it is. It's just a test. And I got to pass this test because it's not going to be easy. But I know for a fact that I'm going in the right direction. It's like when I was in New York City driving the bus, I knew I was going down the wrong way. I was going down a dead end street. But now that I'm in Atlanta, I know I'm going in the right track. I might not be going at a fast pace, but I know I'm going in the right direction. And to me, that means more. To me, that's more important than how fast I get to my destination. As long as I know I'm going in the right direction, I know I'm going to get there at some point in time. So I'm just being patient with everything. And I'm realizing that money's not everything. It really isn't.
Wow. Wow, Lester, what you just said, you may have a lot of persons who are saying you're crazy because money is everything. And here
Yeah,
you are saying, well, you know what, man, guess what? Money is not everything.
it's not.
Lester, you wear so many hats. You've had so much experience. You're an author. Tell us a little bit about where the inspiration come from and tell us about that book. I mean, where did the inspiration come from to write that book?
Thank you. So the name of the book is called Act Like You Love Yourself. And I was at a place in my life where I was so judgmental about who I was and what I was doing or what I wasn't doing. And I realized that I had to fix myself. And what I mean by that is one day my friend came up to me and he said, Lester, I think you should fix your smile. I said, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with my smile. And he said, Lester, I just think that if you fixed your smile, it would do wonders for you. So I went home and I looked in the mirror and I saw myself, right? And I remember as a kid, I had fallen on my face. And that's why my teeth were a little off. But I never realized that I looked the way that I did until my friend pointed it out to me. So what I did was I went to this place called Smile Specialists. They gave me a free consultation. They said, Lester, listen, your smile is not terrible, but if you want to fix it, we can help you. They have payment plans. XYZ. I said, oh, okay, XYZ. So, right. So I said, okay, let's do it. So I ended
Mm-hmm.
up fixing my smile. I'll never forget the guy's name, Marvin Lagstein. He helped me fix my smile. And after I fixed my smile, my whole life changed. I don't know how to explain it, but I started walking with my head up high. I started smiling very big in my pictures. And I started getting more commercial work for my acting career. It was like everything just fell into place. And
Mm.
so that book was inspired by that whole moment because at that point in time,
Wow.
I realized how important it is to love yourself. But I wasn't
Wow.
doing that. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that. And again, getting back to money, I spent nearly $10,000 to get my teeth the way they are right now.
Wow.
But
Wow.
again, I
Wow.
wasn't looking at the money. I was looking at, okay, how am I going to feel after all this is done? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad that I did it because it was like a light switch went off. It was like going from night to day.
Wow. What
Yeah.
a story, man. That's powerful. I want to tell the person that what's his name? That's free publishing for him. So let him know he has to reach out to XY Spark and give us some royalty for that. But
You're
I'm just
right.
kidding, David. I'm just kidding, David. But so
Yeah,
loving yourself, that is something,
it is.
Lester, that many of us, a lot of men, the way that we love ourselves, it's not healthy,
Yeah, it's not.
and
It's
you're
not.
saying it's important to love yourself. Tell us some more about that, and tell us some of the big pointers in your book,
Yeah.
that as you had that aha moment, so to
Yeah.
speak. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Again, I got my teeth fixed and it just changed my whole life. I started looking at things differently. People started looking at me differently. And the funny thing is, as a kid, my parents had the opportunity to fix my smile. They had the opportunity to get braces for me, but they thought that my teeth would straighten out as I got older, and it never happened. And so I started looking back on things and saying to myself, wow, why did my parents fix that? I grew up with my smile the way that it was. I used to get teased in school because my teeth were buck. They used to call me buck tooth rabbit. That's what they used to call me in school. And I didn't realize that my parents had an opportunity to fix the issue, and they did. So I used to live with a little resentment because I thought that they could have done a better job at being there for me, and it never happened. But now that I'm older, I don't blame them because I realized that I was able to fix the issue. And so now I'm living in the present. I'm not trying to live in the past and reflect on what they didn't do or what they were supposed to do. I'm just focusing on what I did and how I feel now that I've done it.
Wow, that's powerful. And Lester, that's why I'm excited to have you here, because self-acceptance and loving ourselves is something that a lot of men struggle with. And at XY Spark, we're in the business of restoring healthy masculinity. Okay,
Yeah.
so from your writing and your work as an author and all of that, how did that help you to develop now more self-awareness and becoming more comfortable with who you are as a person? How did it help your self-esteem and all of that?
Right, right.
What?
So, yeah, I wasn't planning on going down this route, but God is speaking to me right now. So I'm just going to go with the flow. So, growing up, I was sexually abused by my father. I didn't know what it was until I got older. But when I was younger, I tried to talk to my mother about it, and she didn't quite believe me. She just brushed it off. And so when I got older, I started to hate myself because I was saying to myself, why am I like this? Why did this happen to me? Why did my father do that to me? He ruined my life. And keep in mind, I'm still growing. I'm still a teenager and I'm living with these thoughts, not realizing that I still have a full life ahead of me. But again, when something traumatic like that happens to you, it's hard to just move forward and forget about that past. And so I blamed him for my being gay, my coming out as gay, and my being in love with men. But I didn't realize that I was blessed because you are who you are. I am who I am. And now I walk with a sense of pride because I know that God loves me regardless. I know that my partner loves me regardless. And as long as I have my partner in God, there's nothing that can stop me. That's how I feel about myself. That's how I feel about life.
Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow. What a story, Lester. Definitely. And as I hear you talk about your dad and that experience, that definitely that I know that must have taken a lot of heart to say on a medium like this, and thank you for sharing that because definitely there are hundreds of others like you. Earlier in XY Spark in season one, we had on our show Dr. Kelly Palfy, and she's the author of the book Men Too, and she does a lot of work with men who have been sexually abused. She has an experience. She worked as a police officer for a number of years as well. And so, just to hear you share your story there, I really thank you for saying that in this medium. And I hope that more men who are listening will be encouraged to come out of that place and get the supports. So
Yeah, absolutely. I
how did
think,
you recover
oh,
from
sorry.
that? How did you recover from that?
Well, it took some time. And
Mm-hmm.
through growth, I was able to just move past it. Obviously, you never forget what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I don't want that moment to define who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me? I felt like it was just holding me down in all
Mm-hmm.
aspects of my life,
Mm-hmm.
from school to athletics to friendships and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized that I had to break those chains. I had to release that past so that I could be
Mm-hmm.
a free spirit. But it took
Mm-hmm.
time. It took a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
Wow.
And I still talk to my father now,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously it's not quite the same
Mm-hmm.
as how it was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
older. I know
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what he did. I know what happened. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to
Mm-hmm.
put everything into perspective.
Yeah, and you have grown, and
Right.
that, I think that's valid. Now, let's shift gears a little bit, Lester. You have had the privilege of working with some well-known names in the industry, the acting. Tell us a little bit about that and
Sure.
your
Absolutely.
accomplishments.
Yeah. So I've worked with people like 50 Cent, Amari Hardwick, Alec Baldwin, RZA, Method Man. I recently booked a series role on this TV show called Wu Tang: An American Saga. I play a character named Clocker. It was a great opportunity for me to be seen on a huge platform. I got a chance to see Method Man, RZA, Brian Glazer. He's a big time producer. It was a great experience. And again, I wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff if I didn't accept the man that I am today. I think
Mm-hmm.
being able to accept who you are, flaws and everything is very important. It's vital to
Mm-hmm.
your survival.
Wow, accept your flaws.
Yeah.
If I'm hearing you correctly, don't allow flaws to interfere with your ability to flourish.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I want you to make sure you remember that quote. Don't let flaws stop you from flourishing.
I like it.
It's a constant process. It's so phenomenal. Lester. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listening audience this evening as it relates to self acceptance and healthy masculinity from your
Yeah.
own experience?
Yeah. I think in this film industry, there's a lot of homophobia. I deal with a lot of rejection simply because of my sexuality, but I'm going to continue to move forward and I'm going to continue to champion who I am as a person. And that's the reason why I'm focusing on creating my own content, producing my own work so that I can play the roles that I want to see on the big screen. I want to see characters who look like me who happen to be gay. So what, right? That's reality. That's real life. So I'm working with Nas Panky right now on a couple of projects, and I love it. I love the idea of being creative, and I love the idea of bringing my own ideas to the light.
Wow, wow, thank you. Wow, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. And folks, let me tell you, this guy that we're interviewing tonight, Lester Greene, he's just as you see him. He's no pretense. He speaks clearly, openly. He has a good heart. And he's someone that he and I have connected. He has really been a very, very great person to connect and interact with. And let me tell you, Lester, man, we appreciate the work that you're doing. We appreciate your presence here on XY Spark. And we also want you to know that as we look and as we continue to interact with Lester, if I can tell you some more, he really has a passion to share himself with the world. And I
Yeah.
think I think the big piece in that is that Lester accepts himself and he says, you know what, I've grown to love myself. How about you? Do you love yourself? What are some of the things that is interfering with your ability to love yourself? I want you, Lester, before we wrap up, is as you wrote this book, okay, what would you say are one of the high points in this book that you would say, hey, I would really want you to go read the book because this place is where it is, and how can someone access your book?
Okay. Well, they can get my book by just emailing me at Lester David Green with an E at the
Okay,
end at gmail.com. And I'll
okay,
just mail out a physical copy. And in terms
mm-hmm,
of the book, I would say there's a chapter in there called Life is Too Short. It's probably one
mm,
of my favorite chapters because life is very short. But
mm-hmm,
Life is Too Short was also the first feature film that I was cast in by my dear friend Antoine Allen. He saw
mm.
something in me, right? And he put me in his feature film. I was one of the lead actors, and him believing in me is what gave me the power to believe in myself.
Wow.
So definitely check out that chapter, Life is Too Short, because it has a double
Life
meaning.
life
Life
is
is
too
too.
short. And guys, listen, man, I want to tell you this, man. I'm excited and I'm gonna get a copy of that book, Lester. And yeah, because I'm interested to read it and see, because anything that we see that can help more men to be empowered, we
Mm.
are all for that. Okay, and that's a passion and that's a drive that we have. Lester, are there any upcoming projects that you have that's working on now? Is there, what if someone wants to reach out to you and say, hey, I need to talk to this guy? How do they find you, man?
Yeah, well, I'm working on this web series right now with Nas Panky and Andrew R. McAllister. It's called Finding Mr. Right Now, and it's about relationships and love and just trying to find that right person. And then Nas Panky and Andrew R. McAllister are also working on a film called Gerald's Hands that we'll be putting out pretty soon. So I'm excited to be a part of that as well. And if people want to get in touch with me, all they have to do is go to my website, Lester Greene with an E at the end.com, and all of my information is there. They can reach out to me that way.
Fantastic. Listen, man, Lester, man, we thank you so much. We're going to do this again. Next time we want to do this, we want to invite some other guys like yourself and other men in the community to let's continue to promote and uplift healthy masculinity, because the reality is healthy masculinity is not a myth.
Mm.
And we want to continue to let men and women and everybody know that here at XY Spark, that's our passion, that's our dream, to promote healthy masculinity. Thank you for joining us tonight, Lester. And we just want to say, man, good luck with everything. Let's keep in contact. And listen, it was a pleasure having you. You take care, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.